Hello, Howe Gelb. This is your life. How are you doing?
Hey, Russ. It's good to talk with you again.
Yeah, we'd like to welcome Howe Gelb to the program here to the RUSS TOLMAN Good Time Hour. As you know, the theme today is Everything Giant Sand, and all the music is picked by the man himself, and we got him here on the telephone. You moved to Tucson when you were a teenager, right?
Yeah, 15.
Oh, geez. Just were you trouble?
Was I troubled or was I trouble?
The second, the latter.
No, I was, it was Lynchian, very David Lynchian. I was, transported to Mars from Pennsylvania.
I see.
I was born in the Northeast, tiny corner of small town Pennsylvania, and I ended up, in 1972, ended up in Tucson because two things occurred. My dad remarried out here, and my mom's house back in Pennsylvania was wiped out by a flood. The whole town was wiped out. Yeah. So, I started coming out here only in the summers, which was a good way to be initiated here. And then at 19, I moved here completely all year round. And then at that age, I met this 24-year-old named Reiner Thochek. And that's when everything started to coalesce.
Sure. So what was your very first band?
Very first band was a duo called Wow and Flutter. And that was with a guy named Keith Evans back in Pennsylvania.
Which one were you, Wow or Flutter?
Yeah, it was Wow.
Okay. Yeah, Wow How. Or How Wow.
Yeah. And then from there we tried that was a duo. And there was an NPR station in Pennsylvania with the call letters WVIA, run by a fellow who might still be there now, George Graham. And he would offer free recording time to locals in exchange for 15 to 20 minutes worth of music that he can play on his show, homegrown music. And that's how I started recording. He had a 4-track reel to reel, and I would go down there with these ideas and attempt to learn all about all the things you can't do.
Right. So what year was this?
That was in the mid-'70s. It was this tiny little town called Pittston. And in Pittston, in the woods, was this NPR station. So we would go there, record for 3-4 hours, and come up with about 15, 20 minutes. And I did several sessions there over the years. I'm just now making them available on my Bandcamp.
Aha, cool.
Yeah,
it'll be fun to hear. So when you hit Tucson permanently, what were you doing musically?
Well, I was just a teenager, and I was terrible at music. I had no talent, but I had this great deal of imagination. And my creative endeavors were all in drawing and painting. And then I was somehow changing all that over to song and creating these little worlds within songs. And at 19, I listened to the big records that influenced me, I guess, when I was 14, right before the flood, were, these albums that came out at that time, like Sticky Fingers was at the top of the list by the Stones. The Best of Bob Dylan Volume 2.
Right.
That got worn out. Led Zeppelin 4. Ziggy Stardust by Bowie. That was huge. And at the same time, since I tried to play piano and I couldn't quite wrap my head around it, I was looking for music that was piano-based. And then I dared myself to venture into the jazz forum, because a lot of those albums had pianos on the cover, and that's where I discovered a music I could not approach at 16, but it was so engaging. And I remember buying Tommy Flanagan, McCoy Tyner, Ahmad Jamal, and eventually Thelonious Monk. And Monk somehow resonated with me the same way Neil Young's guitar resonated with me, electric guitar.
Right.
And for whatever reason, Monk, Neil Young, and Clint Eastwood became like a holy trinity. And I couldn't understand why. And then many, many years later, of course, in the 80s, that film came out on Monk's life, Straight No Chaser, and it was produced by Clint Eastwood.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we're at the point in the program where we should be playing a song. What shall we hear, Mr. Gelb?
Well, randomly I picked a selection of songs like this one from an solo album I did called Gathered. It's a cover of Leonard Cohen's 1,000 Kisses Deep.
I know you had to lie to me. I know you had to cheat. To pose all hot and high behind the veils of sheer deceit. Our perfect porn aristocrat, so elegant and cheap. I'm old, but I'm still into that. 1,000 kisses deep.
The ponies run, the girls are young, the odds are there to beat. You win a while, and then it's done, your little winning streak. And summon now in a deal with your invincible defeat. You live your life as if it's real, 1,000 kisses deep.
I'm turning tricks, I'm getting fixed. I'm back on Boogie Street. You lose your grip, then you slip into the masterpiece. Or maybe I had miles to drive and promises to keep. I ditch it all to stay alive, 1,000 kisses deep.
Sometimes when the night is slow, the wretched and the meek, we gather up our hearts and go, 1,000 kisses deep. Confined to sense, we pressed against the limits of the sea. I saw there were no oceans left for a scavenger like me. I made it to the forward deck, and I blessed our remnant fleet, and then consented
text. I'm back on Boogie Street. I guess they won't exchange the gifts you were meant to keep. And quiet is the thought of you, the file on you complete. Except what we forgot to do, 1,000 kisses deep. And the meek, we gather up our hearts and go 1,000 kisses deep. Yeah, the ponies run, the girls are young, the odds are there to beat. You win a while, and then it's done. Your little winning streak, and summon now to deal with your invincible defeat. You live your life as if it's real, 1,000 kisses deep. I loved you when you opened like a lily to the heat. You see, I'm just another snowman standing in the rain and sleet, who loved you with his frozen love, his second-hand physique, with all the years and all he was, 1,000 kisses deep.
So that's a cover. And the irony, of course, is the only reason I started writing songs was because I couldn't learn covers correctly. Every time I thought I did, I was told I had it all wrong.
You're singing my song, Howe Gelb. In fact, I was too lazy to actually even really try too hard to learn things. So, yeah, write your own.
Yeah, so that indicates that you want to play music so badly that even though you can't, that you have no talent, you're still going to do it.
Yeah.
That was the great freedom when punk rock exploded in 1977.
Yeah, you had to be a virtuoso to be in a band in the 70s. And so when punk and new wave came along, I was like, hey, I could be in a band. I don't have to get any better than I am.
Well, at least from 73 to 76, you had to know what you're doing musically, because the music was so thought out and terrible for the most part. It had, we had to wait till MC5 and Iggy and Ramones and the whole invasion from Britain, 77.
Yeah.
So I feel I should expand a little bit about the Leonard Cohen song we just heard, because it's a little bit of a funny story. Anna Karina, the actress, and I became friends in Paris. We worked on some recordings together. She was around 74 at the time.
Wow.
And her husband was a director named Dennis Barry, and we were put together through a mutual friend, David, and we recorded a couple of songs, one of mine and one song that a friend of hers wrote. And then while I'm spending time with her, I'm realizing she would be the perfect candidate to sing a Leonard Cohen cover. And she wasn't that much into Leonard Cohen, but she thought his stuff was too unsettling lyrically.
Right.
So I decided, she's, old school, that if I constructed something, if I put something together for her so she can understand the beauty of it, and then have her sing in French. Anna was from Denmark originally, but she lived in Paris since she was a teenager, so her, French was flawless. And knowing that Leonard Cohen was from Montreal, and he grew up with French in Quebec,
Right.
It seemed like it could be a beautiful connecting of the dots. Anna's voice was now the same register as Leonard's from, a lifetime of cigarette smoking. And I could see it. I could see the vision. So, anyway. And I knew Sylvie Simmons, the writer, who was at that time in touch with Leonard all the time, writing his biography. So somehow I thought it would bring both people a great deal of enjoyment by Leonard listening to one of his songs recorded in French by Anna Karina. And I think Anna would enjoy a surprising burst of admiration from the public singing Leonard Cohen. So I went about assembling a track. I picked 1,000 Kisses Deep, thinking it was more romantic than puzzling for Anna. And I recorded it in Cordoba, Spain. And one of my gypsy guitarist friends on, guitar. To wrap it all up, while I was in Spain, my old friend Matt Ward was visiting, and I had him sing certain verses, thinking like, this will make it easier for Anna. She doesn't have to sing the whole song, and I'll make it a duet between the two. And Matt sang like I'd never heard him sing before. It was in almost a falsetto. It was really beautiful. Constructed the whole thing, mixed it down, burnt it onto a CD that she had a really old CD player, wouldn't take CD recordables. I had to, that's another story, but I had to get the right CD for her to listen to. I gave it to her, and she listened to it overnight, and the next day she came to me and said that she couldn't sing it, that his lyrics were still too dark for her. She could not wrap her head around it. So I just filed that track away. It was such a complete and beautiful track. And I ended up singing it myself just so we wouldn't lose it.
We only have an hour program, so shall we play a song?
Talk next time.
Shall we play a song? Shall you pick a song, Howe?
Well, if we go to this Chore of Enchantment album, I don't know if you're familiar with either of these two.
I probably am. Which one would you like to play?
If you have a favorite, would you pick Raw or Shiver?
Shiver.
All right.
Come on, come on. Agent
treasured splendor, with words just so strong and a touch just so tender. Is it better off beyond description, left alone in a dark room with a mouth full of prescription, unable to deliver, unable to understand the deliverer of Shiver? So you take your time and you take your leave, ready to do without, ready to receive. Never mind, gonna find good love down by the river. Might as well find your spine. The shiver. There's something in the water. Sides the moon, I don't know when to quit. Come on and deliver. Come on and deliver. The shiver.
So, Shiver was kind of close to the heart because I've never had writer's block before until Reiner died of brain cancer at the age of 46.
Ouch.
And so Shiver was the first song I wrote after all that. And it didn't have anything to do with it as far as I knew, but it was a positive, it was the first glimpse at a positive outlook.
I think we should throw another song in here. What do you want to hear now?
You can put up Happenstance, because that's
Okay.
a perfect example of making up a song on the spot in the studio and capturing it.
Well marked and trembling, waterlogged and fumbling, painfully shy to let it go, just dance. Trance after trance, tilt of your stance. Hearing the lilt of lipping, strange romance. Therein, the lean and tilt of your stance. Learning to love, happenstance.
Happenstance was from our first big budget album called Glum, recorded in Daniel Lenoir's studio in New Orleans with Malcolm Byrne at the helm. And it ended up being our most requested song live, which was funny because I never learned how to play it. I made it up on the spot then and there, and my guitar was tuned down a whole step. So it confused me for a long time. I never felt comfortable playing it live. But that was like one of those paintings I was mentioning earlier, where you go in and you just come up with this painting. And it's usually just me and John. And then we send in whoever's playing bass with us to go ahead and connect those dots. And that's what you get. And I also made it a point to keep the guitar solo as minimal as possible. That was a little self-challenge. So that's why you hear those two notes kind of ring out when they do.
Uh-huh. Interesting. So, okay, here's a question where, for those who are keeping score, how many Giant Sand albums are there and how many Howe Gelb albums are there?
I don't know. But I know at last count there was between 50 and 60 all told. Because there was a whole slew of tour-only CDs we would make with the scraps that we didn't use from those sessions. Right. I had learned to record so fast and affordably at that NPR station that I utilized that same technique when I started to do it for real.
I noticed that in LA that you would make a record like in a night.
Yeah. 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 It's tapping into that thing. All right, kids, listen up now. The secret of how to go about all of that is by getting rid of everything in your head and body that is not the songs you're about to record. You just become only that thing. And then that's all there is.
That's all there is.
And you instruct the engineer to lean on the red button from the very get-go. Because if they make the mistake, the inexcusable mistake thinking you're just rehearsing, you need to get another engineer.
Right. They're going to miss the magic.
Yeah.
So you're doing a thing with Matt Ward, M. Ward now, called Geckos. Tell me about it. And when are you coming to the Palm Springs Joshua Tree area?
I can't answer the second part of the question.
Okay.
But me and a fellow named Mark McCausland, who now goes by Makowski from Omagh, Ireland, used to be in a band called the Lost Brothers there. A thing I produced with Gabe Sullivan some years ago. Great duo. Mark and I started this recording a couple of years ago outside of Belfast. And then we got Pieta Brown involved with it for a while. And then there was a wedding here by this director named Jeff Marslet. Him and I wrote this film together called Quantum Cowboys, which starred Lily Gladstone in her first lead role before the Scorsese film, Killers of the Flower Moon. At his wedding, Matt was also in town, and the three of us got together and started... You know, when you don't release a record right away, it keeps evolving, keeps changing. It turns into something else and then something else. That's why you keep a record of what happened, and you release that. In this case, now, as it was going on, this record was becoming populated now with these really beautiful songs that Mark and Matt were coming up with. And now what you have is this album called Get Goes. Mark came up with the name there, and it's a pretty sweet album.
Is it out?
No, we only had some 45s pressed up.
I see.
We did some preliminary shows in Arizona in the very beginning of the year.
Yeah, I saw that those were happening. We need to get to another song because the clock on the wall says, you must. What are we going to hear now, Howe?
This is an attempt of piano standards. The year I put my piano in the way of my bedroom door where I could not walk past it without playing it. And after a year, I had an album's worth of what I considered were piano standards in that motif. But they couldn't be standards, obviously, because it was now, so they would be future standards. And that was the name of the album under my name. This is Terribly So.
Back in Arizona, knee deep in the sand. The heart's still contentious, but the clouds are back at my command. Love is pretentious, we pretend to understand. It just goes where it sends us, over and just above its promised land. Now that the love and art has become terribly so. Now that the love and art has learned to let it go. Well, maybe the lonely, maybe them only, we're ever gonna get to know.
Maybe you're in Australia, maybe even on the coast, disguised in regalia and making the most of a bad situation, made better by the grace, discovering new love in an unanticipated place. When will the loving heart become terribly so? When will the loving heart just learn to let it go? Maybe the lonely
I'm in Constantinople with a toe in the tire. You can't stand to be so hopeful till you learn to let it ride. Become terribly so. Now that the loving heart has learned to let it go. Or maybe the lonely, maybe them only, we're ever gonna get to know. Thank you for coming down. Andrew Kohlberg on drums, Turlon on bass, Naima Moore on guitar.
Oh yeah. I think that one just speaks for itself. I was tapping into what made a piano standard, and basically it's the lyric has to be a kind of positive foreplay or afterplay of love in all its dimensions, and the music has to utilize a whole lot of flatted fifths.
There you go. Well, you know, the clock on the, I wish I had a 4-hour program, Hal, because this is fun and fascinating, but I don't. So,
all right, this next track is Cowboy Boots on Cobblestone. Originally written in Denmark, taken down to Cordoba when I made this record with these 4 flamenco guitarists, these gypsies, Gitanos de Cordoba. And the intro is by an actual national treasure of España, Raimundo Amador.
Back home I hear rains have failed this year. Mountain there's on fire, situation's dire. I find myself underneath new skies, so I barely recognize
cowboy boots on cobblestone. I walk around like I own the sound of cowboy boots on cobblestone. Well, it's true what they say. Women here really do look that way. So much so I married one. Now I just sit around like a desert sun. The wine is fine and so is the beer. If you find me missing there, I'll be losing it here. Cowboy boots on cobblestone. I walk around like I own the sound of cowboy boots on cobblestone. Yeah, I'm missing my copper steak, poker cosa and their chili relleno blade. But I'm doing good work here at any rate. I am a satiate, expatriate. Cowboy boots on cobblestone, walking around this town like I own the high lonesome sound of cowboy boots on cobblestone. Cowboy boots on cobblestone.
Yeah, I can't play flamenco. I don't know anything about those beats. I just do what I do. And I was able to bond with these guys and utilize what I consider the greatest guitarists in the world.
Thank you. What's next?
Paradise Hereabouts. It was a solo album I called Snow Angel. So if you, and the title of the record was Like You. So if you read it all together, it would have my name and then Snow Angel. So it read, Howe Gelb, Snow Angel, Like You.
He's not.
No. I'm of this mortal coil.
Are you searching for a situation with a less hurting affiliation? Will you know it when you can't believe your eyes? Welcome to paradise. Are you longing for infiltration somewhere under the radar in the tornado? Will you know it when you can't believe your eyes? Welcome to paradise. Drifting can be stunning, Paradise, just getting back. Just getting back. It's paradise. You middle-aged, or maybe older, with a crevice face, and every season's colder. But can you ever remember a time easier to separate the truth from the lies? Welcome to paradise. Welcome to paradise. That was from Snow Angel 2, called Paradise. Hereabouts. Needed a gospel choir. Which I failed to acquire for this evening's attire.
Do we have more songs, Howe?
Hurt and Habit was a song from the last all-original Giant Sand album where we kind of perfected all the different near genres. We were never immersed in any one single genre, but we were always kind of in between all genres with leanings toward a specific genre, whether it's country or jazz or noise or just full-blown rock, right? And this one, that album really kind of shines as like, after so many years, we kind of nailed them all, finally. And this is a track called Hurt and Habit.
Myself, it's what I do. If you're so concerned,
So that was done up by in Italy with a few Italian musicians, led by Antonio Gramatieri, and features a Croatian singer who at the time went by the name the Lovely Princess. Her real name's Dunja. Next up, we have a song from her first album, Valley of Rain, Giant Sand's first album. This is Black Venetian Blind.
I could get right in, or succumb to denial, get away with the perfect crime, put myself on trial, no. Black Venetian blind, black Venetian blind. I'm aware there's a world out there, but I don't need to go blind. Fountains fall where the big storms blow. They'll double the graveyard shift and cancel the late show. Among your last patriarchs and sellers of time, there are those that'll build their arcs, waiting on the soldiers of slime. Them in the windows, black Venetian blind, black Venetian blind. I'm aware there's a world out there, but I don't need to go blind. It don't matter when they've all gone away. Don't believe in the end, won't be back anyway. Well, there's a man on the phone, he's got the whole story ready, but he can't believe it's there, so turns out the light. Him in his window, black Venetian blind, black Venetian blind. I'm aware there's a world out there, I'm aware there's a world somewhere. I don't need to, I don't need to.
That's it. Well, it's been a pleasure having you here on the RUSS TOLMAN Good Time Hour. Howe Gelb, this was your life, or just a tiny bit of it. I mean, your creative output over the years is it's astounding. It's I am envious of your creativity. Thank you for being on the program.
It's very kind and sweet of you to hit me up, Russ. It's been great to talk to you again.
Yeah, it's been some time since we last talked, but let's do it again in the not distant future.
Yeah, because we'll be dead by then.
Oh, no. You got at least another 20 or 30 in you. You don't think so? I think so.
When I was a kid, it came to me what year I would die.
Oh, jeez.
And I've kept it a secret ever since. So, and it's not a bad year. So I'm going to keep that to myself.
You ought to. Don't jinx it, I guess, one way or the other. But, and with that, I guess we have to say goodbye. Thank you, Howe, for being on the program.
All right, buddy.